Hello, John. I'm speaking to you from London. I so wish I could be there with you tonight to help the AJHS honor you with the Emma Lazarus Award. Of course, John, you honor all of your friends with your friendship, and I'm so proud that I can number myself among them. We have a long history connected by Harvard and by our great enthusiasm for the arts in general and the arts at Harvard. In this area, as in so many others, you've expressed your enormous compassion and generosity, and it's only fitting that you be awarded by this organization with this award. You're the greatest. I wish I were there. Have a wonderful evening, and congratulations to you.
Hi, my name is Mike Morse, and I'm the Executive Director of the Winston Churchill Foundation of the United States. Right now, I'm looking at a picture of myself in my telephone, and the rest of you can see and hear me too. It seems like magic, but what it is the very best scientists, engineers, and mathematicians get to study at the very best universities and follow their dreams. Our little part in this is we award the Churchill Scholarship, which sends the best American graduates every year to spend a year in Cambridge in Great Britain. Well, no one has done more for this foundation than Ambassador Loeb, who for many years was the president and now the chairman. So, on behalf of myself, the foundation, the hundreds of young scientists that have been funded by the foundation, and anybody who enjoys modern medicine and technology, which I think is everybody, congratulations, Ambassador Loeb, on this fantastic award.
Well, John, congratulations. This is a fantastic moment. This is Randolph Churchill from London. And I must say, getting this award is just magnificent, John. You've been terrific in all the various things you do. And the fact that you're being recognised in this way will put a smile on so many people's faces. Well done and much love. Randolph.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2015 Emma Lazarus Statue of Liberty Award Dinner for the American Jewish Historical Society. I want to thank our chair for this wonderful program, Mrs. Sharon Handler Loeb. As well as the vice chairs, Nicholas Loeb, Mrs. Summers Farkas, and Arthur Lehman Loeb. Thank you so much for your dedication. Thank you. I also want to thank all of our generous supporters for this evening's event, and in particular, I want to extend my gratitude toward our honoree committee, which includes Amy Goldman Fowler, who's the chair at the Center for Jewish History, Marilyn Handler, Daryl Handler, Jonathan Handler, Dawn Harbert, Arthur Lehman Loeb, and Dan Lufkin. Their tremendous support really has made this evening possible. Of course, tonight would not be possible without our honoree, Ambassador John L. Loeb. Ambassador, let me be just one of many to thank you for your tireless efforts on behalf of the Society tonight, and for your many good works, a handful of which you were just able to see on the screen a moment ago. My name is Rachel Lithgow, and I'm the director of the American Jewish Historical Society. Tonight, it is my pleasure to speak to you just for a few minutes about the Society and our work. The American Jewish Historical Society, we call it the AJHS for short, can be a mouthful, is the oldest ethnic archive in the country. As we move into our 124th year, we tell the story of the Jews since they first arrived in New Amsterdam in 1654. Our history is rich, it is complex, and it shaped the way American society developed culturally, financially, and politically. It includes a history of modern philanthropy, public health, women's rights, immigration, the evolution of American culture, and so many other contributions that I could stand here all night, which of course nobody wants. In short, we collect, preserve, and showcase the records of some of the most important organizations in this country and some of the most unique individuals in our nation. This year alone, we have acquired and begun to process the records of Hadassah, and just a few weeks ago, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, better known as AJHS, which chronicles how Jewish life was built in America since 1905. Last month, we hosted the 30th anniversary commemoration of the murder of Leon Klinghoffer on the Achille Lauro, and announced that archive had been gifted to us at the AJHS. I hope all of you have the opportunity to look at the small exhibition that we curated where the cocktail room was. All of that material comes from our archives at West 16th Street. That particular exhibition is from, of course, the Loeb Family Archive, housed with us. When we can connect even our annual gala to our archival material, you can be sure we're very serious about archival work. We have a staff of dedicated archivists and librarians and a committed board of trustees, many of whom are here this evening. In fact, you can identify them by small white ribbons that they'll be wearing. Please speak with them about the Society tonight. They would love to be approached to share their passion and energy with you about our work. We at the American Jewish Historical Society are fortunate to be part of the Center for Jewish History. Together with our partners there, the Leo Baeck Institute, the American Sephardi Federation, Yeshiva University Museum, and the YIVO Institute for Jewish Research, we span close to 800 years of Jewish history globally in 155,000 square feet, 12 stories of Jewish archival material. We are a one-stop shop for genealogical research, scholarship, and cutting-edge programming. I want to invite you to visit us on West 16th Street. Please attend our programs and events and support the work that we do. For all of you here tonight, our longtime supporters and those just being introduced to our mission, I hope tonight is only the first introduction and that we will spend many more educational, informative, and beautiful evenings together. Thank you very much. I would now like to introduce Nicholas Loeb, who is going to make a toast.
Thank you very much. So, other than a toast, I've been given several letters by very important people that I am to read tonight. So I picked the best one. Dear John, Barbara and I send our personal congratulations and respects as you are appropriately honored by the American Jewish Historical Society with the prestigious Emma Lazarus Statue of Liberty Award. When we think of you, we think of honor, decency, and integrity. We think about tireless advocacy for religious freedom. We think about service to others, and we think about friendship. Your life's mission has been to do your part. The list is long, the impact immeasurable. This wonderful recognition of your many contributions is another milestone in your accomplished career, and we salute you and thank you. Congratulations again on this well-deserved honor. Warmest personal regards, George Bush. His son, George W. Bush, also wrote a very similar nice letter, but I don't think I need to repeat the same sentiments again. As an American, I cannot think of anyone more suited to be honored in the name of Emma Lazarus than my father. And not because he is my father, and not because the accomplishments he is noted here for tonight, but because of what he stands for and what drove him to carry her torch. We don't like Hitler, but at least he killed the Jews, would echo from another boy in the hallway of my father's school. And as Miss Lazarus wrote, I am perfectly conscious that this contempt and hatred underlies the general tone of the community towards us. See, like Emma, my father also felt ostracized by the community. And this is what drove them both to champion tolerance and acceptance for all. And like my father's grandparents and Emma's ancestors, immigrants of that time used to come to this country to contribute to American life, to integrate into American communities, and to assimilate into American culture so they could become Americans. Have times changed? As Miss Lazarus ended her famed poem, I lift my lamp beside the golden door, my father picked it up and continued not only to carry her torch of liberty into the next century, but to shine its light on what made America great. And I hear people today ask, why is this so important? The Jews run Hollywood. The Jews run Wall Street. We have a black president. America has come a long way in our history, and we have offered a worldwide welcome to live in a country that separates church and state, empowers the exiled and huddled masses. But we live in a smaller world today, where not just the actions of our country affect us, but those of the world's. Jews are blamed for the problems in the Middle East, and now the catalyst for terrorism. Many still want to wipe them off the face of this earth. Crime and violence are blamed on minority and black communities today. So I ask, are these problems of race? Are these problems of religion? Maybe today, more than ever, do we need education to remind us of why our families came to America and what this country stands for. Now, although my father's experience motivated him to build foundations to educate generations to come, what truly is inspirational here is that he did not back down in fear. He did not hide with humiliation. He did not segregate himself into being a Jewish American or a German American, but instead, he knocked down that boy from school. He stood up and proudly proclaimed, I am an American, and just American first before all others. Dad, this is what I am most proud of, because if we could get back to this as a country, and the people who started coming here could still feel like that, we could begin again to build that wall. which is now America's conquering limbs from land to land. You have set this as an example, and this is what makes you a true leader. And I say this because I am your son, and I learned this from you. And because you have had the courage to stand up for what is right and to shine now your torch, not only at what it means to be an American, but what it means to come to America. Thank you very much. I've also been tasked with one more thing. I'm to introduce one of my father's closest and best friends, Dick Allen. Dick was former head of the foreign policy and defense operations for Richard Nixon and on his council for international economic policy. He later became Ronald Reagan's chief foreign policy advisor and then U.S. National Security Advisor. As senior advisor of the Republican National Committee, Dick was created the International Democratic Union. He has been honored by nations, including the Knights Commander Cross of Germany, the Order of Brilliant Star of the Republic of China, the Order of Diplomatic Merit of the Republic of Korea. And last but certainly not least, he has been a loyal, long-standing friend of my father's for way over 30 years. I give you Dick Allen.
In the House of Representatives, a speaker who has been allotted a certain amount of time will stand, and since he's a member of Congress, will say, "Mr. Speaker, I yield myself so much time as I shall require." But since we have a time budget tonight, and we're honoring a great American, John Loeb, my friend of 35 years, I'd like to take just a minute to call attention to the causes that he has served and the profile that he has built in our country. As a philanthropist and as a man who has continued the tradition, the distinguished tradition of a philanthropic family that has done so much and rewarded America in so many ways for what it has done. Shortly after the 1980 nomination of George Herbert Walker Bush, from whom we heard tonight a lovely letter, a man appeared in my office in Washington, D.C., and wanted to meet and discuss things. His name was Gordon Zacks of Columbus, Ohio, known to many of you here. And Gordy Zacks came into my office saying, "Mr. Allen, it's a pleasure to meet you, but can you tell me why Ronald Reagan would ever pick a Catholic to be the liaison with the Jewish community?" I said, "Well, Mr. Zacks, that's a very impertinent but interesting question. There are two reasons. Number one, I did it in 1968 for Richard Nixon, and number two, I'm damn good at it. And as a result, I think we built a strong relationship." It was in that year that I met John some 35 years ago. John worked with our committees on policy development along with many of the other distinguished people who are here tonight, such as our good friend, Ambassador Bill Middendorf. And I'd like to ask all ambassadors to stand, if you would. Ambassador Bruce Gelb. Because you are the true representatives of the President of the United States, whoever he may be, and the true representative of the interests of the American Republic abroad in so many ways. To present to you John Loeb is a great pleasure, but in the context of his receiving the Emma Lazarus Award should drive us all back to the poetry of Emma Lazarus. which I sadly admit that for my 80 years I have neglected, save for the poem at the Statue of Liberty. At the ages of 14 and 15, Emma Lazarus was already busy translating the poetry of the classics, German, French, and Italian writers. She said something extremely important and actually auctioned or allowed her poem to be auctioned for the contribution of the cause at the base of the Statue of Liberty. And there it stands, greeting every immigrant. The new Colossus, which was the American Republic, all worthy of introspection on our part as Americans. And then, when we think back to 100 years before Emma Lazarus, to what happened in Newport, Rhode Island, when George Washington visited. In the 3 days following his visit and his meeting with religious leaders, George Washington wrote 3 very moving letters, but none less moving than the one to the Jewish community. John Loeb has continued that tradition by his sturdy and relentless support of the cause of freedom as represented by the George Washington Institute for Religious Liberty at the Touro Synagogue in Newport. I am more than honored, more than pleased to present to you Ambassador John Langeloth Loeb, my friend, and a great patriot.
Please be seated. I am not John Loeb. Good evening. I am Sid Lapidus, Chair of the American Jewish Historical Society. I would first like to thank Sharon Handler Loeb for the magnificent job that she has done. Thank you also to our Executive Director, Rachel Lithgow. I'd like to welcome back those of you who have been to previous Emma Lazarus Award dinners, which are held annually. And I especially want to welcome those of you who have never been at one of these events. I hope you can come again. I have the pleasure to, in a moment, introduce John Loeb. I have known the ambassador for many years. I have long admired his dedication to American Jewish history, to our society, to the pursuit of religious freedom in our country, exemplified by his founding of the George Washington Institute for Religious Freedom, and to colonial American history, in particular through his creation of the Loeb Portrait Database of Early American Jews, which resides on the American Jewish Historical Society website. Rachel told you a little bit about the mission of the AJHS, and I won't go through it again. But John embodies the work through a lifetime of what we do at the Society. And we hope that this evening has given you an insight into John's contributions to America, to the Society, and American Jewish history. We American Jews have been part of the fabric of American history from 1654, from colonial days to the present and into the future. Your presence tonight is important to us, and we hope that you will continue your association with us in the months and years ahead. Please visit us at our home at the Center for Jewish History. It's not far away, 15 West 16th Street. And our wonderful website. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our honoree, John Loeb. And before I do that, I'm going to give the Emma Lazarus Award to Ambassador Loeb. John, you're up.
Well, Sid, thank you very much for this great honor.
My pleasure.
I'm very touched, and I want to thank your staff and organization and for putting on this great event. It means a lot to me, and thank you again, Sid.
It was a delight, and we couldn't have done it without your wife.
You're absolutely right. Thanks. And before I talk, I just want to say about my son, Nicholas, I am so proud of you, and thank you for these heartfelt remarks. It touched me very much. I am so proud of you. Nicholas, thank you again wherever you are in this room. And as other people have already mentioned, I want to thank the vice chairs of tonight's event who did such a terrific job as Summers Farkas. Where are you, Summers? Also my son Nick and my brother Arthur, who is not here tonight, but has been a great help. And Dick, I want to thank you for a long and warm friendship. I can't tell you how much it means to me to have you here tonight. You've been with me all the way through ups and downs, including Dick had a lot to do with my becoming a United States ambassador. And all I can say is I'm thrilled that you and Pat are here and coming from Colorado to be with me tonight. So, Dick, thank you so much for those lovely words. And, of course, last but certainly not least, Sharon, darling, thank you so much for everything. For your yeoman's job as the chair of this tribute to me, for your dedication to making this evening a success, and your unending love and devotion to me. And I want you to know, I truly feel I'm the luckiest husband in the world. You know, this is not a long speech. It may look like it, and some of what I have to say has been already said already, but I don't think it hurts to mention it again. My family, actually, and I have been supporters of this organization going back a long time because of my grandmother. I'll get to it a little later, but when I was at boarding schools, I didn't know that, I didn't understand that I was led to believe that if you were a daughter of the American Revolution, you couldn't be Jewish. So, and my grandmother was a member of the DAR, and she was Jewish. And that's one of the things that got me interested in the early American Jewish history. and one of the reasons we've been supporters of the American Jewish Historical Society for nearly 4 decades, and I'm so delighted to, it means a lot to me to be honored by this wonderful organization. Now, one of the books you'll be receiving as a gift tonight tells the story of this is a little history of my father's mother, Adeline Moses Loeb. She was my Grandma Moses. A beautiful Southern belle born in Alabama, she spoke in her lovely Southern accent and called us grandchildren beaux and belles. But as a proper Southern lady, she, of course, never called her husband anything but Mr. Loeb. Her book is filled with short stories of our ancestors going back to 1697. Now, as has been said before, the AJHS, from its founding, has, as I have mentioned also, has been the keeper of the Jewish experience in America, including stories like my grandmother's. Now I'd like to tell you a story, which my son to some extent has told already. It takes place in the fall of 1945, towards the end of World War II. It's about a boy sent to boarding school in 1939 when he was only 9. He is now 15. His high school is large, with a mostly American, all-white male student body, whose families are well-to-do and well-educated. There are only a few minorities in this school: 5 foreigners who are refugees from Europe, and 2 American Jewish boys. One of them is this boy. Saturday night is movie night, and the whole student body attends. The first newsreel pictures are of a German concentration camp. They appear on the screen. Horrible, disturbing images of the dead and the near dead. Emaciated men, women, and children in degrading striped uniforms. The pictures take this boy's breath away. But what happens next completely knocks the wind out of him. The entire student body cheers and hoots. And afterwards, as they leave the auditorium, a group of classmates approaches him and sneeringly says, "We don't like Hitler, but he's killed the Jews." That boy was me. I was stunned. I thought we were all Americans and that our religion didn't matter, as long as we were good Americans. After all, my family had American ancestors, as I mentioned to you, going back to the 17th century. And now I was being told that I was a despised outsider. My experience that terrible night and the continuing battles I had with my tormentors at that school fired my lifelong quest to find the basis for the mindless hatred of Jews. This hatred I encountered did not belong in the America I loved. My understanding of America was that it is the home of religious freedom. This led me to the extraordinary letter that President Washington sent to the Hebrew congregation after his first visit to Newport, Rhode Island, in the summer of 1790. I had never heard about this letter, and after my discovery of it, I learned that practically nobody else I knew had ever heard of it either. The president wrote it in response to an eloquent greeting he had received from Moses Seixas, leader of Newport's small Hebrew congregation, now known as the Touro Synagogue. Washington was so moved by Seixas' words that in 3 days he wrote back the following inspiring words, and this is just part of his letter. It is now no more that toleration is spoken of, as if it were the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection demean themselves as good citizens. He then concluded his historic letter with these beautiful biblical words, "And everyone shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid." This letter of George Washington has become an inspiration in my life. I hope you all take time to read it. The letter is in a little white packet in your gift bag. I realized I needed to tell Americans of all faiths the story of Washington's letter. And now, if you don't mind, please, for a few minutes, watch a short video that highlights my efforts to introduce Washington's letter and his principles of religious freedom.
Freedom of religion is what this country is all about. And the fact that George Washington was here and presenting back to the synagogue this letter which clearly distinguished the Americas from any other place in the world. It should be part of the national conscience, not just of a small group.
I think it's very important to understand that this country is founded on so many religions, and that everyone has the right to believe in their own religion and carry it on to their children.
The first thing that a visitor walks in, he sees right in front of him a short video. It's only 2.5 minutes that tells the entire story of what you're going to see here. The exhibits on the first floor and on the second floor, and then you have a wonderful view of the synagogue. This is the most important part of the visitor center. This is the amazing story of religious liberty, which happened first in our country and first in Rhode Island. It's not Virginia, it's Rhode Island where it all began. It began with two extraordinary men, Roger Williams and John Clark. And they had been ministers in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and they had actually been forced out because they were considered too liberal. And they put together an incredible charter, which after years they got the King of England, King Charles II, to sign. The King's idea, he called it the lively experiment. He was very worried about it because here was a state or colony being formed, separating the church from the state, which was a revolutionary idea. Even today in England, the church and the state are one. And he finally agreed to sign it because it was so far away. These very liberal and revolutionary ideas wouldn't infect his kingdom. And on both sides, we have screens that will tell you the whole story of not only religious freedom and liberty, but particularly the story of the George Washington letter. After the Constitution was signed, all the leaders, including George Washington, wanted a Bill of Rights. Now, a lot of people think it was just Thomas Jefferson, but we have letters that George Washington wrote to all kinds of religious organizations talking about the Bill of Rights. In 1790, he comes to Rhode Island, and he is met by the leaders of the community. One of them was a man called Moses Seixas, who was a leader of the Jewish community, who presents him a letter. George Washington answers that letter a few days later, and this is the most beautiful letter one could ever read in the history of religious freedom. And for the first time, it expresses the views of all the founders, and it's the first time the head of state ever has expressed such views as this, where you would have freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom to think and be what you want. And in due course, in 1791, with all the founding fathers and all the legislatures finally agreeing to this, the Bill of Rights, which is an amendment to the Constitution, was passed.
This is the center of what we call, really, the Religious Freedom Mile. There are a number of early Catholic, Protestant, and Jewish denominations that had their start in America right here within this 2 or 3 block radius. So my sense is the people that are here today are not too different from the people that were here 300 years ago.
Religious freedom is not just something to be taken for granted, but it's something to be appreciated and cultivated and renewed all the time.
Just over 350 years ago, the first Jews arrived in Rhode Island. One of the reasons they came here came to a head in 1663, when Rhode Island was finally organized as the first political entity in the history of the world to totally separate the church from the state. The result is that all kinds of minorities began coming into this new port: Quakers, Catholics, and Jews. We have portraits of many of these families, starting in the 1700 to the end of the Civil War in 1865. And these are portraits by some of America's greatest artists, like Gilbert Stuart. And all these people in the portraitry are related either by marriage or by connections, as we say in the Old South, or by business relationships. Children love it, everybody loves this, and we now have something over 200 of these portraits. We'll in due course have over 400, telling really the story of Jewish America during those periods.
I think anyone that's interested in history in general, whether it be religious or secular, I think would take something from this and learn. It's a great history lesson. It could really be an important piece leading into the teaching of the Constitution, Bill of Rights.
Ezra Stiles, who ended up president of Yale University, was deeply interested in Jews, in Hebrew, and he kept an incredible diary, not only of the Jewish community here, but of the Christian community. And based on his diaries, we have created a series of vignettes where you can, like a little movie, see what was going on, both among Christians and Jews and blacks. This is really, again, giving us a slice of life of Newport in the middle of the 1700s.
Probably not, but let us try to find one.
I had some ideas for the paper.
It's all history, but it's something that's so relevant to today, given that our country is very diverse. You get that sense here at the Visitor Center that diversity is okay. And as a world, we are diverse, and we need places like this that perpetuate that acceptance.
Both letters, the letter from Moses Seixas to Washington and Washington's response, just are full of wonderful things to study and look at. And if we can bring that message around to the country and hopefully to the rest of the world ultimately, that would be just absolutely tremendous.
George Washington Institute for Religious Freedom, which is the entity that is really running this project, is going to develop and has developed educational programs, and John is passionate about that, and he's bringing that concept throughout the country and hopefully throughout the world.
Thank you again, dear friends and family, for coming to celebrate with me this wonderful award. It's named, as you know, for Emma Lazarus, mother of immigrants. I know that she believed, as I do, that America's greatness stems from its embrace of religious freedom for all. Thank you very much.
As we prepare to close out the evening, I just want to tell you that our friend and President Bernie Michael was slated to make these closing remarks, but he lost his father-in-law a few days ago, and he asked me to stand in his place. My name is Paul Warhit, and I am the Vice Chairman of the American Jewish Historical Society. As you heard, we are the oldest ethnic archive in the country, celebrating our 123rd year of collecting, preserving, and showcasing American Jewish history. Our work is important, and as this evening shows, our history matters. It shapes our community, how we relate to the larger world, and how the larger world relates to us. You saw firsthand tonight how Ambassador Loeb's philanthropic generosity over the years dovetails so perfectly with our work, and the work that all of our partners at the Center for Jewish History engage in on a daily basis. As Rachel mentioned earlier, this year alone, we have acquired the collections of two of the most incredible Jewish organizations in American history, Hadassah and AJHS, along with the Klinghoffer collection, and that's just in the last 12 months. Our archives feature the stories and histories of America's most important Jewish families, individuals, and organizations dating back to the founding of our great nation. Looking forward, AJHS is speaking to organizations that are shaping the American Jewish future, and we look forward to being the home to their records as well. Many of you came this evening to support your good friend, Ambassador John Loeb, Jr., and many of you are here tonight because you come to our Emma Lazarus dinner annually to support the American Jewish Historical Society. Whatever the reason that brought you to the Roosevelt Hotel this evening, I urge you to consider the American Jewish Historical Society in your future giving plans. We have so many remarkable stories to tell and so much material on the horizon not yet part of our archives. We are the future of the American Jewish past, and your support is not only valuable but essential. I want to thank the Loeb family for their dedication to the society over the years, the last 30 plus years. And Ambassador Loeb, I want to personally thank you for your passion, energy, and commitment to us, and more importantly, your commitment to preserving religious freedom in the United States and all over the world. On behalf of the American Jewish Historical Society trustees and staff, I want to encourage all of you to get involved with us. Come to our events, look through our programs and the press kit that you're going to be provided on the way out, attend our programs and exhibits, and most importantly, visit us. We're very friendly, and we'd love to have you join us. Again, thank you all for coming tonight and for making our annual Emma Lazarus dinner so very special, and please get home safely. Thank you very much.